what a world, DJ on the Mac coming out of the kitchen because I've been serving up a dish up in this. Boop. I tell you, you wouldn't have thought that these two be cooking together, but let me tell you, they'd be all up in there like Salt Bay. They'd be like, damn. We've got some season on this. So in this video, we're going to go over the deck, strats, and all the good stuff of why these two actually complement each other. So if this is the video for you as I go through it all, then make sure you stick around and enjoy. And if you're new to the channel, you like what you see, then make sure you subscribe and turn the notification bell because I do videos on the reg. And thank you for the continuated support on the channel. We've seen that growth, guys. Let's see if we can get to 1K before the end of the year, and we are definitely laughing. So, starting off with the eggs. What are we doing here? We're swinging for face. We're getting those glass jaws broken, and this enables you to get a bit more draw once we check the opponent's security. One slight caveat to this bad boy though is that if it is an option and the option kills our Digimon, we will not get the draw due to sequencing. But minus that, you're pretty much going to be getting that draw, which is going to be very helpful for us to essentially execute some awesome combos, plays, and all the good stuff. So going on to the rookies standard 12, we ain't messing about. We're going in with the BT14 Biomon, best in slot, perfect for the looping. On play is just by far the best on play of a Biomon that we've seen so far, is because if we do have a Christie out, we can bounce that to our hand and then we can warp Evo into Garudamon without paying the cost. It's absolutely free. We love some free goodness, and we're able to then trigger the when Digivolving effect of our Garudamon, which effectively could play out another Christie there as well, which is just brilliant. This is the thing with what you'll find with Phoenixmon, is that we kind of cheat the champion step. So it's pretty much just rookie to then ultimate and then to mega, which is really good. Then we do run the BT11 Biomon. This is obviously our primary searcher once again, another best in slot for what it does, because possibly we can net 2 cards because we reveal top 3, able to grab a Digimon with Vaccine straight and 1 Red Tamer from amongst them, bot deck the rest, which is always great. Inheritable, if we have a Red Tamer out, we are able to gain 1 memory. This is great because effectively what it means is that even if it's an opponent's turn, we will gain that 1 memory because, you know, if we're deleted on their turn, blah blah, we can just possibly swipe turn. Doesn't necessarily come up as often, but you know, it's there. Then we do run the EX1 Biomon, great inheritable, which works well with Koromon. We have that option of possibly netting 2 cards, well, drawing 2 cards once we obviously swing into the opponent's security. We do have a particular Digimon that helps us actually early game get some awesome draw power right there. And lastly, a nice little bit of tech, because this meta is absolutely rife of Digimon just being summed out by card effects, is going to be the BT14 Gotsumon. Yes, guys, we finally got a red floodgate of this nature. But you're probably thinking, Dread, slow down, homie. Easy on the spice. This actually fucks you over. Thing about it, yeah, you are absolutely correct, but the good thing is that we can either swing and basically get it killed, or we can Evo on top of it and then we're cooking again, guys. We're putting the burners back on and we're all happy days. So yeah, obviously make sure that you do not play this out and then you can't pop off with your Phoenixmons or your top end, because ideally you do want to be playing cards by card effects still. But when the opponent's going in with like the Commandramons and obviously the Feralugumon plays, at least we have something to somewhat make them be like, oh snap, I can't pop off this turn, which is quite pivotal. So going on to the champions, we are running a 9, guys, a little bit lower, but like I've mentioned before, is that when with Phoenixmon essentially gimmick is kind of bypassing the champion step when you kind of get to mid game / late game. So this is the reason why we do run kind of like a low count. That, and obviously it's not BT15 yet, and and that's where basically we get the full BO1 line that we can actually utilize and leverage. So standard, best in slot, going to be the Birdramon, BT11, blocker, winning, inheritable, amazing. Honestly, we can just play a Tamer card, a Red Tamer from our hand, play cost 4 less. Our Tamer lineup is all about free play cost, so it's not even an issue, but regardless, we can just get our Tamers out, being the main thing. Then you're probably thinking, who the boop is this? It's going to be our KFCmon, because I can't pronounce the name. So this right here is what we got in BT14. And initially on first glance, you're like, well, this is pretty mid. But the good things about this is that one, it only costs 4 to actually just hard slam it out if needs be, which is actually alright for vanilla. But it has jamming, which means that we can actually, you know, jam in like Bob Marley into someone's security and actually trigger off our EX1 Biomon and also our Goldramon inheritables in order for us to draw 2 cards. Getting that early game aggression, which this deck really struggled with, and means that we can kind of set up some kind of cheeky ace plays there as well. Yes, guys, little hint there. We've got some aces in here. So I actually like the added chicken into the mix. Granted, it is not a vaccine. Bandai slipped up there, man. This card would have been banging if it was. But that's the reason why we have bumped up to 4. Means that we can obviously pretty much get this card in hand in most cases. We do run trainings there as well, so we can get this from other means. And then lastly, we do run the one of Geo Grey. Geo Grey is super strong. It's kind of sad that it's restricted to 1 because it actually worked really well in this deck. So it does cost us 3 to Evo into it. Unfortunate. But if we do have a offensive training out, we can effectively go into this to 1. It enables us to search our security stat, giving us that foresight. The foresight in this deck actually goes a long way, because if we can see that we've got quite a few tamers in our security, it really does change the way we can play. We can kind of chill out in the back and just literally go into our top end, and then we can pull out and just pop off and basically leverage all of our tamers that we do have out in order for us to then just start going in and triggering the effects, which is just really helpful for us. On top of that, the inheritable can actually pop. It can actually happen, which is nice, because we do have Ahiho, which can suspend, which means that if we do have this inheritable, we can actually pop a 3k DP or less, which is very handy for us in order for us to clear board. Very rare that this comes off, but at least it actually, you know, is a possibility. So that concludes for our champions. Going on to the ultimates, this is where I'm going to explain why we are currently running 9, because we do have one particular card that kind of bridges between both champion and ultimates. But let's go over to obviously our key kind of facilitating in terms of tempo, and it is going to be our BT14 Goldramon. Honestly, best in slot. Jesus Christ, we just needed a Digimon that can play a tamer out when Digivolving, and also on play, which is just so handy for us, especially if we are set up and we do actually have Phoenixmon popping off, and we can just basically summon out this card from its effect, depending on tamers, which is just so good right there. Inheritable is mid. Inheritable is so mid. Effectively, it would have been great if we did have our own deletion from this boy, which just comes in really nice. Because effectively, its on deletion means that we can actually play a red tamer, which is just so good. Honestly, just move that over there, copy and paste Bandai, we'd be cooking. It'd be the best Goldramon ever. But unfortunately, we can't have a good thing. But it is a 7k blocker, which is really handy for us to kind of stay in the game. And so really facilitates the kind of the warping mechanic that we do have from the BT13 Biomon all the way up into obviously this Digimon. Lastly, we do run the cheeky 1 ace that I've been mentioning about. Metal Greymon Ace is mid in comparison to all the other ace cards that we did receive out of this out of BT14. But the good thing about this is that, one, it gives us a bit of options in regards to us effectively climbing on the opponent's turn whilst kind of controlling their board. It means that it gives us a little bit more speed in order to kind of get into our megas, which this is what this deck kind of struggled with and made it a little bit slower, is kind of getting up to our mega so we can actually pop off. That's where we basically get our value from, is reaching up to that point. So Metal Greymon Ace actually does help out in this deck, surprisingly. Granted, you know, obviously overflow is free, so if we did get bodied, effectively we are going to lose free memory. But if they don't have an answer to this, effectively we can reach to our top end and be sitting quite comfortably right there. So this is why I mean why this is essentially like a bridge, because effectively only if we want to hard slam this down, it costs us 4. That's the same cost as the Kentucky Fried Chicken Mon. And as well, obviously, if we do want to ace into it, then we can obviously climb up for free Evo, which once again is pretty nice right there on top of level 4. So that's how we conclude for the megas. I mean, ultimates. So going on to the megas, blah 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 blah. Let's spread them out. going on with the 4 Phoenix, and then the 3 Goldra. So, let's talk about Goldramon first, because Goldramon is the one that has a lot of source behind it and works really well with this deck. So, Goldramon, obviously if you want to hard slam this down, you can assist for 12 and you get its on play. I'd advise not doing that, but if you have to, that's the condition. But realistically, we obviously want to be digivolving into this, and it is going to cost us 4, which is a bit expensive. But if we do have a training down, which we do run a plethora of those, we can effectively evo in this for the cost of 2. So when Digimon effect, we are able to summon out 2 tokens, which are Digimon. So one's a red token, which effectively is a 6k Digimon with Rush, and it's red, which once again means that we have effectively 2 swings on board. And then the other one is a yellow Digimon with Blocker, another 6k. So the good thing about this is the fact that they are classed as Digimon, which is actually really helpful. Because what that means is that if we do have a Christy Damon that we want to hard play down, it means that we can actually give that token the actual on deletion if I'm able to play a Beamon from hand or trash until the end of the opponent's turn. So if I go in with essentially the red token, which has Rush, obviously it has this on deletion, it means that if I swing, I die, I can go into Beamon, I can then trigger, say for example, let's give it a little demo. Blah-blah. We have that Beamon, we bounce the Christy back to hand, obviously we trigger in this effect here to then warp straight into this, Shazam, for free, and then we can replay out the Christy, which then can effectively put that on deletion on some other target. I could put it on the Blocker token there as well, which is nice because it doesn't necessarily state what colour that on deletion is. As long as it's a Digimon, which the tokens are classed as Digimon, effectively we will get that on deletion. So that's where that kind of bit of source comes in. Obviously if we do have the Ahiho out, we can suspend. We've got this one's then got Rush, obviously going for the swings once more, and so forth. So a lot of aggression that you can generate while still maintaining a lot of board presence. Also, a good thing about Goldramon here is the alterns. So when this Digimon would be essentially fight either on top of Goldramon, or if it was going to leave the battle area, I'm able to delete my tokens and then recover 1, which is actually pretty good. So obviously if I do have that on deletion effect and they happen to remove this, I'll delete those, obviously trigger my on deletion of this stack, and then also gain the on deletion effect of the Christy Damon off one of the tokens, do all that, resolve all those effects, and then obviously recover 1. Got another mad tempo, that mad gains right there. Really cool things that you can do here. It still follows the similar mechanic of spawning out Digimon, but it just means that we have some more kind of uses that we can do without fully relying on having Akito out being the thing. Because if we don't have them out, then effectively Phoenixmon is great and obviously can summon out Digimon, but they don't have Rush if you don't have Akito out, which can happen. Very rare, but can happen. So that is the little bit of the source obviously with the Goldramon. Phoenixmon is a great top-end Digimon. It is 11k, so it is a bit squishy, but its whole mechanic is kind of like, yeah, it's supposed to be squishy for a reason, because once you swing into security with Phoenixmon and you check one of their security, then you can actually trigger Phoenixmon's when on deletion effects, and that could be anything within the stack. You can obviously do its main one, which effectively will be able to summon out for this case, a bird type Digimon or beast. I've not run any beasts in this, and if it's a 3k DP value, but then depending on how many Tamers you have, effectively increases by additional 2k. So if I wanted to obviously get into another Phoenixmon, realistically I need to have 4 Tamers out. If I want to obviously get into my Garudamons, 3 Tamers, which is pretty doable in this deck right there. Absolutely fantastic. But say if I wanted to kind of get some more Tamers out first, effectively I could trigger the Garudamon's BT14 Garudamon to then play another Tamer out. And obviously that will happen, that's interruptive of when the security is checked. So say if the security was checked, I triggered the on deletion, and say what I checked into was bigger than this, then I would then trigger this effect again, which once again can get some mad spawning action, have your Akitos out, get the rush going, and keep on swinging, keep on knocking on their ends, which is just a very strong effect to have. Obviously, the bit of an issue here is that it has to check security being the thing, and that's one of the little gripes with Phoenixmon, is that if there's a blocker out, that whole strat is literally just done in an instant. Right there, so you've got to be careful of those. But once it's going, it gets going quite nicely. If there was any changes to this ratio here, I would get a level 7. It probably would be a rune mode, Shine Greymon, just because it will work well. It's searchable. I can evo on top of the Goldramon, and I can get Goldramon's effect to effectively recover one. Be a lot more, bit more control top end wise, as well as stopping the opponent a fair bit there too, which we all love. And that's probably the only change. Unfortunately, my broadcast can't get that card, so this is the reason why I've gone with this current spread. So that concludes for the Megas. Hope you love the additional source. So let's go over to the options and Tamers. So starting off with the Tamers, obviously it's going to be our Christy Damon at 4, Akito at 4, and then it's going to be our... you guessed it, it's going to be the offensive trainings, because, you know, consistency and all that. Can grab the Tamers, all sweet. And then 2 Crimson Blazers right there, which is just always the source. So the reason why we don't actually run a memory Tamer anymore is because freaking Christy's just so good. Like, if we do sort of main, if we have a Digimon with Bird or Avian in one of its traits, gain a memory, which is very nice. Obviously, there might be some instances where you don't have an Avian out. So say if you've either aced into a Metal Greymon, that could mean that you're not going to get that start of main, which can shaft you. So obviously be careful on that. And say if you're at the Goldramon top end, effectively you're not going to get the start of main of that. But, you know, it's the price you got to pay. 9 times out of 10, because we are kind of popping off and warping into a form of bird type Digimon, we usually do get that off quite nicely. Ahiro, love-hate relationship with this card. It's great because it is a good searcher. It does enable us our rush plays, but sometimes because of how it searches, it can bottom deck our actual Tamers, which is very annoying. So I'd obviously just be cautious of that. But obviously it's basically anything that's kind of being played from effect. So if it is a bird, effectively you can give it rush, which is so nice in this deck. We love to see it. Then trainings, like I said, this just gives it a good bit of tempo, which is long needed. Even into our top end for possibly a 1 cost is just absolute value. Searching our Tamers out there as well. We're getting procced out of security, also the worth. You just can't go wrong with offense training on this particular build. And then 2 Crimson Blazers, once again getting rid of those wide boards, stopping cards being summoned by card effects. Very handy right here. There could be an argument that you could obviously lower the offensive trainings and run just like a heavy kill option, because at the moment there's probably no way to actually kill a big boss monster if you can't actually get rid of it. But hopefully the amount of pressure that this deck can generate kind of puts them in a position where it wouldn't necessarily matter. But if you wanted to do a change, I would effectively do it like this and obviously run something. For example, I know Guy Force is not, it's a bit dated now, but something that basically can just get rid of a big body is what you need right there, for sure. But guys, that is your boy done. You wouldn't believe how many times I've had to record this because my OBS keeps crashing. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure you smash it with a like as standard. I really do like this actual rendition of the deck. I think Goldramon is a nice little secondary boss monster, which really does complement what you can kind of do in regards to using the tokens to essentially facilitate your game plan, whilst giving you a little bit of recovery there as well, which is kind of nice. Even having a blocker token is always the worth right there. But guys, stay safe, stay fly, and I'll catch you next one. DigiDread off the mic.